Will you turn it around so I know who I am?
We're going to call back to order now for our budget meeting and review. And looks like we are starting with our library tonight. And Christina, unless, Alan, you have something you would like to say, we'll turn it over to Christina to, and also Betsy has something that she would like to say before we get into the discussion for the library. Betsy.
Sorry, y'all can take a nap if you want. So last time, I said I was not okay with giving myself a raise, and I haven't changed on that. That feels like a huge conflict of interest. So on September 18th at 10:58 a.m., I called the Ethics Commission down in Little Rock to share, hey, this is how I feel, what's the deal, et cetera. So we cannot, by state statute, give ourselves a raise based on meetings, because I assume at some point somebody probably abused that, like, oh, let's have another meeting and add our salary and on and on. I have been told, I don't know the exact figures, years, but I've been told it's been close to 20 years since the directors have had a raise. The Ethics Commission said that and I wrote down some of their terminology, that it's normal and required function of our normal duties through state statute, and it is not an unfairly extended advantage beyond the common advantage of others, and it's extended to all of us. It's not, just for one of us. She said it is legally by state statute, it is how it's done. There is no other option. Yeah, and she also said, and there were two of them, she and he, said, well, does it make you feel better that the House and Senate does it that way? No, not at all. So then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, I'm only on the board for 2 more years, so it's not going to affect me that much, but it affects others. And do I have the right to decide this, that, oh, no, and I know we all decide, because I'm not comfortable with it. We have more than doubled our meetings. And then I also look at the economic makeup of the board, and we are not economically diverse very much, a little bit on the board, which also is not representative of our city. And so then I started thinking, well, if the board paid more, would we have more diversity, which would represent our city better? So I say all that to say that I've sort of changed my mind. I think it would be the right thing to do, to vote on it, to add it back in, even if I also still feel like it's a conflict of interest, because I do think others deserve it, and I think those in the future deserve it. And 20, give or take 4 or 5 years, is a long time to go without a raise. So I'm reversing what I said before. So.
Thank you, Betsy. Appreciate that.
Madam Mayor?
Yes. Reed?
No, go ahead.
Thank you, Betsy. I was going to make an address on that before we voted on the budget. But where I want to come from is give you all a little tidbit tonight. Language will we speak in heaven. That language is going to be heart. And I think the heart of what we were trying to do as a board is good. That we're not trying to gouge or do something wrong or unjust. But I do think, you alluded to it, our board is not diverse. If you have a young couple, whether it's a husband or a wife, who may be very capable of doing what we do on the board, but they're trying to raise children, pay mortgage, get people to college, retirement, the money is a necessity. And they can choose, well, maybe I can go get a part-time job somewhere. Well, it cannot be on this board. We're not in a intentional way, so to speak, but we're excluding. And if someone who is retired maybe would like to help supplement their retirement, this is not a position they could look to because it's work, but does not help supplement retirement, so to speak. So I feel like even on both sides of the spectrum, I'm not saying we're shaming, but I am saying we're excluding those who don't have the financial ability to be able to be on the board. And I think there's a lot of sharp minds within our community, whether they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 60s, 70s, who could do this job very well, but they're unable to. Now, if that's our intent, we don't need to do anything, but I feel like to be able to make the board of directors a position that is broadly sent out so our community can be well represented, I don't think we're in that position. There again, I'm not wanting to say, hey, give me more money, throw it at me. But I do think in order to attract those who have the ability with their mind, who have tremendous common sense, we're saying no thank you to them by not being able to pay them accordingly. And whatever that means, that's a direction I'd like to go.
Thank you, Reed. Mark?
I think I'm going to change the subject, so if anybody else wants to address this topic, I'll wait.
No, before you say that, and I just want to be on the record again, no one on this board has asked me or have ever even hinted for a raise for this board.
I don't think your mic's on. Alan, is your mic on?
Is that better?
There you go.
There we go. I just want to go on record to say that no one on this board has ever hinted or asked me for any kind of compensation or raise at all. Just working the budget and looking over the years of what the board has to do and the calls and just everything, especially the mayor, because I work with her a lot and all the events. I just thought it was very important after 20 years to give some compensation, and not just for this board, for our future. You know, as our future, as we're looking out, like Mr. Reed said, we have people that maybe maybe this is a second job for them, a way to help their income. It's really hard to give up, you know, a lot of those meetings and a lot of that pay. So this is the reason I brought it up. I'm still in support of it. I watch the job you do, and you all care about the city. So again, I just wanted to put that out there, that I want to be very clear. Nobody on this board has asked me for a raise or hinted towards it. This is on me. This is what I think is the right thing to do as a city, is when I look for compensation for our employees for what they do, I feel just as strong as for the board. And it's not to getting good with, it's just what I do every day, try to do the right thing. So Betsy, thank you. I know that's not easy, you know, to do that. So thank you for that. And that's all I have to say.
So, Mark, you said that you have another subject that you want?
Yes, I'd like to speak to Alan and Christina. I have a very abrupt and blunt personality, and I want to say publicly that I have zero doubt in your fantastic abilities on the finances of this city. So if I come across as abrupt, it's because I'm wanting to get to the next topic. It is not because I have any doubt whatsoever in your skills and your ability. So I just want to say out loud, because I think I have maybe been very blunt or cut you off for things, and I don't mean to do that. I really don't. I think that the tandem between you and Alan is fantastic. I like how it works, and I'm probably just wanting to skip ahead, get to the point where I'm wanting to talk to somebody about a truck or something. And so I just wanted this board to know, and the people watching need to know, that I have zero doubt in your abilities. So I thank you for all you do.
Thank you, directors. So, I'm sorry, Betsy, yes.
I do have one other topic. So I get teased because I like facts and data. And with something like the budget or things that are not in my wheelhouse, I go to people in the field who it is, to see, am I on the right page? Am I completely off? And what are their feelings? So I suggested the last time that raises be done differently, and I didn't get a lot of positive feedback over that. Because it bothers me. The same percentage across the board bothers me. So I'd gone to at least 2 people, and they said, well, that's not equitable because it exponentially raises the higher and doesn't do much for the lower. So I decided, well, I need to consult more people because it makes sense to me, but it doesn't, maybe I'm wrong. I don't pretend that this is my area of expertise, so I decided to do my research, and I called Fayetteville, Rogers, Springdale, Van Buren. I spoke with somebody who's done payroll and accounting for businesses across Northwest Arkansas. I spoke with somebody who works for Tyson. I spoke with a variety of people and people in the school district. And the school district said they use comps from cities that are the same size, not ones that are 4 to 5 times bigger, which is what we're doing. We're comparing ourselves to cities that are 4 to 5 times bigger. And so I asked some of these cities that I called, a wide range from Van Buren's a little bit bigger than we are, to Springdale is actually 100,000 now, so they're 5 times bigger than we are. And they all basically said they compare themselves to cities the same size as they are. And they explained to me that their tax base is much, much bigger than ours. One person said, well, because Rogers and Bentonville have a lot more money. Fayetteville has an entertainment district where they have tens of thousands of U of A students down on Dixon Street every weekend, spending a whole lot of money. So they have tremendously more income than we have. And they even, one of them, bless his heart, he didn't realize how much I wasn't grasping what he was saying, but explained the tax base and how much they get per citizen, and went through and compared to other cities and was like, yeah, we even get way less than Fayetteville does and per person. So when I spoke to these people, I'm like, well, then how do you do raises? And it was a variety, because I said, well, we do them where everybody gets the same percent. And a couple of them literally gasped and said, that's not right, that's not fair, it's not equitable. And one used the phrase, so the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And I'm not blaming the way we do raises on staff or anybody here. I assume it's been done that way for a very long time. And you do what you know. So when I ask these other cities, well, how do you do them? Some of them are similar to the police and fire departments. They have grades and they have steps. And they have to, it's not straight grades and steps because people top out and things like that. So like, for instance, they'll use grades and steps and they'll use merit and performance. And I'm like, well, you can't do merit. I mean, how on earth would you do that? Actually, they all said they do merit, or that's included in it. And they said, well, there's a performance evaluation on every employee. And so we base it on that performance evaluation. So, which that would also account, I know there was concern over Christina and Steve that they've been here forever, not forever, a long time, and their pay isn't commensurate for the time they've been here. And I completely agree. And that's one of the reasons I like the schools. Each year, your experience goes up and you're rewarded for the longer that you're here. And I think that's absolutely right. But one thing when that analogy is given, it's not really the whole picture. Because yes, when I look at Christina's, she's middle, low. She's down in there. But then we also have people who are at the extreme end. And to give an example, the mayor of Fayetteville has 16 years experience in that position, and administrative experience before that. And the mayor of Fayetteville makes less money than the equivalent position here in Siloam with 1 year of experience, which I think that alone proves my point that the upper salaries at the same percentage exponentially increases them versus the lower salaries at the same percentage doesn't do much for them. And every single city I spoke with was quite surprised at how we do it. And they even said, well, AML has their salary info based on the size of the city. And so I didn't have much time today, so I pulled it up quickly, and I just pulled up one of the positions that I saw is on the low end, and I'm not counting part-time. And they don't even come up to the low end of AML. And yeah, and the city of Siloam isn't even in their list, which it just said, these are the cities that participate, which I have no idea what that means. The merit raises, as one person said, a citizen who had contacted me said, you know, if everybody's getting the same raise, it's not based on merit, it's not based on anything, that doesn't really encourage people to work harder, to perform harder. I'm going to get the same no matter what, which I know some people, they're going to work just as hard no matter what. But that is an example. An example given in the school system, and I'm gonna make up numbers. Let's say, so in the school system, they've got their steps and grades and all of that. Let's say the low-end person is $10,000. That's what they make in a year. So they need to bump it up. It's time to do a bump. So they give the low person at $10,000 a year a 10% increase. So now they make $11,000. Each person gets $1,000 more. So say somebody who's been there and they're making $20,000, $1,000 extra, they're only going to get a 5% raise. That's how the school system does it. And they said, you know, sometimes people don't get raises, and that's how it is. I know one fire department in my list of phone calls said what they'll do to help balance things out is, and I think we might, from what you said, and I may misunderstand, that you might do some of this, again, making up figures. Say there's $200,000 in their budget, and their drivers are paid really poorly, but their battalion chiefs are great. They're going to say, driver's going to get this, 10% raise this year, and battalion chief's going to get 4%. So they try to make it more equitable. I realize that what I'm saying may have absolutely no impact on any of it. And in no way is it about taking money from the high-end earners. But I go back to we aren't taking care of the ones who don't make a living wage. And it can be done differently because every single major city in Northwest Arkansas does their raises this way, and the school systems do. And I know it would be a pain to change it, but yeah, to hear people literally gasp and go, well, that's not right, that's not equitable. And these are the experts, this is their job. So this isn't me, this is not coming from me. This is not my area of expertise. That's why I spent all this time researching data and facts and seeing how others do it. I'm sure I've forgotten stuff, but that was what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Mayor,
Nancy?
I've got one question in
Yes,
regard to
David.
that subject. I don't know, should I ask you or should I ask Misty? Either or. can
Either
answer.
or.
I heard the word top out. Do those employees who are at the top of their, I understand we have like the low and then the mid-range and then the top. Do we have employees that are already at the top still receive a raise across the board? Or do they get stopped at that top out and they don't receive the COLA raise if it goes to?
If we do what we, are,
I've done it
what
for
we
years.
call a COLA raise,
Yeah.
the wage range moves, so then they're not topped out. Okay. But if it's just an across-the-board raise, or if we do a merit raise, then whatever the percentage is that they were going to receive, they receive it as a bonus for that year, but they don't increase the base pay.
Okay, that makes more sense. I wasn't sure how it is handled. I don't think this is, I wish we could get these things fixed because they don't always work. It's like I have to be right here, but I know years ago, and it doesn't make it right, but years ago, we'd gone through the worst Great Depression since the Great Depression. And we were not able to give raises every year, but we would give a yearly bonus that did not raise the salary, but we were able to give a flat dollar figure as Christmas bonus or whatever that at least gave something. And the fact that the city was struggling just like everybody else in 2009, it was at least something. My question on the top was because I knew several years ago and it was every single year, a percentage, some small, some larger, and I think they were all called COLA or cost of living or whatever. But you would have, through attrition, simply through attrition of people being in one position for 20 years, would be very, very high relative to someone in that same position in another city. But it was only because they had been getting the same percentage for umpteen years. So I'm not trying to justify anything. I'm just saying from what I'd seen, I just had a question. I didn't know if there was ever any, but that explains my answer or my question. Thank you.
Mayor? And the top and out, I think a lot of times in this case applies more to fire and police because we actually do the steps with them. They work differently. And one other thing, I know it was talked about attrition is so much better. I look at it working. Yeah, the reasons people have left, it was, the majority of them didn't have anything to do with their pay, with their salary. It was somebody died, police and fire didn't pass the requirements in 2023, people retired. I mean, the most I could find possibly if somebody moved out of state, 4 more people moved out of state in 2023, and 5 more people resigned. Those could have been due to salary, but I don't know off the top of my head. So the attrition, if you just base it on those and you leave out the people who have died and things like that, the attrition is actually less than 3% difference. So I don't think it's all based on salary. Okay, that really is all.
Anthony,
hang
do we
on.
need to be pushing
David?
the button to make it, no? It's just going in and out is why.
Mindy?
Okay, I know I've asked this before, and I apologize. So again, my understanding of this 4% this year is more to add to the 7% from last year to get us more in line with the salaries that we were compared against in other cities in Northwest Arkansas, right? Partly, right?
Yes.
Okay. Prior to that, were the increases generally cost of living increases?
No, it varied from year to year. Some years we were doing adjustments where the wage ranges would move. Other years we did merit increases. And some years, if it was a very small number, it was just an across-the-board raise.
Okay. So we've really kind of done a variety of different things, including changing wage levels, so that a new person coming into a particular position would make that new wage as opposed to, okay. I don't know that this is neither here or there, but I think I heard you mention that there were people that were very surprised by the across-the-board raises.
Every single city I contacted, and they felt like it wasn't equitable to the lower end earners who are at the very low end and even lower than AML recommends.
Well, because I'm looking at this article from the Gazette. In '23, the city council approved for the 2024 budget in Rogers, a 3.5% cost of living adjustment raise across the board. Now, they
COLA's
did
different.
have an additional 1% merit. Well, but that was sort of my point. Sometimes it's COLA and it's across the board. Sometimes it's wage adjustments. I mean, I think we've done a variety of different things here.
Well, I keep hearing that we need to keep up with Fayetteville, Bentonville, Rogers.
Well, I don't-
Those lower ones aren't keeping up with it. It's been
Right.
several that we need to keep up with them. Said several
My
times.
understanding was, we're still lower than all of them along the corridor. We're not trying to keep up with them, we're just trying to get a little bit more in line so as not to lose employees as often over there, recognizing that the cost of living is a little lower here, so we might not ever have to pay as much, I don't know, but we're still not there. We're not paying as much as the cities on the corridor, I don't think.
We're paying more than Fayetteville on some.
The mayor's salary?
And honestly, I didn't go through every single one. I didn't have time.
Alan? I'm sorry,
Madam Mayor, if
David,
I
did
may,
have-
you know, you
Yeah.
hear a lot of times where you say we're competing against the corridor. We are. We are in the same recruiting pool for employees. We have employees that drive from Fayetteville, Bentonville, because we have a culture here and they want to work here and they come here for less wages. We do every day. This staff right here recruits against Bentonville, Fayetteville, Rogers, all the big ones. Because we're on an island over here by ourselves. What is the draw to pull that pool? It's the culture we built. It's the team spirit we have. It's the money. You know, I did some numbers because I hear these things, and well, I have a very young staff, but I have a very educated, well-rounded, lots of experience. You didn't hire me for 1 year as city administrator. You hired me for 27 years of leadership that I have been through. My salary was part of my negotiations, okay? If you want to do a salary, David, you know, Mr. Cameron, who used to be here, works in the Republic, which is about the same town, you know what his salary is? $287,000. So it's easy to call around and see what people make. But when I'm working on budget, and as chief of police, if I would have got a 7% raise, I would have making $123,000. I took this job for $27,000. Okay? Half that goes to my apartment. That's my fault when I get my house built. But chief came in at 107. That's a savings of $15,000. Same with the fire chief, same with the community development director, same with the city clerk, same with the public works director, same with Jay Williams. The savings for those positions by hiring in-house and hiring the people we have is a savings of $160,000. So how does my staff get raises? The only way they can get raises is the board gives them raises for their experience. Scott Miller, I use him for example. He's got 25, 26 years of experience. I've got people with education and backgrounds that are, again, these guys work very hard to make sure the things are getting done daily. Okay? So there's ways we save. So we saved $160,000. So again, my job is to try to get these employees up to the mid-range because I don't think we have a lot of employees making high range. I had an employee last year with 31 years experience who finally hit, and he's at the water treatment plant, that finally hit his high range. And I think that was $30 an hour. 31 years. So every day I look at these salaries, and yes, we do compete against the corridor. Without a doubt. That's who I recruit against every day. When I was chief of police, I had people call me saying, "What are you doing over there? You're stealing employees from us. We're building culture. We're building teamwork. We're building morale." My morale is high, but they hear things and they're like, "Am I not?" And I believe the board appreciates them without a doubt. But again, we do compete against them. That's kind of my soapbox, but I do it. When I work on this budget, I find ways to save money, and that's what we do. We've done, like I told you before, we've saved over $1 million this year just by doing things in-house. So, again.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
this is the last thing I'll say on it. I didn't say anything about taking away from wages. I said something about the lower end people. That was my point. So,
Thank you. David, do you have something about that?
And I said the same thing at the last board meeting, is that I believe we have some hourly employees that probably need to be raised more. And I don't think this is the final say on that they can't be. I had a question. Christina or Alan, can you guys explain what is the difference between the across the board but a merit raise? A merit raise, does that mean each individual employee is evaluated for merit, or?
When we do our annual reviews, they're graded,
Performance evaluation.
performance
Yeah.
evaluation, yeah.
Okay.
And depending on what grade they get, that determines whether or not they get more or less of a raise.
Okay. But those are not always done. Sometimes it is across the board, COLA, cost of living. When I was head of personnel at Allen's, almost everything was merit raised. And occasionally, because of, everything goes up, especially in the last few years, everything has gone up. So I think at some point you have to say, just for employees to keep up their regular lifestyle, you have to have a true cost of living. We may not have really had a true cost of living raise 6 or 7 years ago because inflation may not have been, but it is now. And so I do agree that when you give a flat percentage, those that are already making very high money, and that's why what I mentioned a moment ago, you can have, because the same percentage raised to someone making 100 grand versus 50 grand, that amount of money is not the same because it's based on a percentage. So for two different employees and making two different amounts, it is completely different in terms of the take-home pay, and it's because of it's a percentage. So that's why I said at some point, I think years ago, there had been some just through attrition that had gotten, and I think it was before you guys had been able to adjust that because a lot of things changed with the Johansson thing, I think. I mean, I think a lot changed. And I'm glad we were able to see that things needed to change. But I do believe that there are some at the low scale that we don't want to be a training ground as we have been before. We don't want to be having people challenge us and say, I can make it more at McDonald's, with their minimum pay across the nation than you guys are offering. And I don't think we do now, but we could have been at one point. So I am glad we've raised hourly. And I'm just talking in circles, Madam Mayor, I'm sorry.
And and some of the department heads can probably tell you, we've all been a part of merit-based raises. It's terrible for morale. And the reason it's terrible for morale, you start getting employees say, well, it's the good old boy system. I'm working as hard as Christina, and Stephanie got a 5, or she got a 5 and I only got a 2, and it just creates, I came.
There's no secrets. Everybody knows.
There's no
Yeah.
secrets, and everybody thinks they work, where the accountability comes to the people sitting in this room. I hold them very accountable to make sure their people are working. And if they're not, they need to be working, or they probably don't need to be here. So we have a staff that works tirelessly. It's like this weekend, we had an unbelievable Hispanic Heritage Festival. If you were able to attend, it was the biggest crowd we've ever had. Probably 80% of the people who worked out there were salaried personnel on their day off, not asking for anything. That's just what they do. They do it every day. They're working nights, they're working mornings. I'm here sometimes at 7, people are already here, trying to do our very best every day. And again, I'm not a big proponent, but if that's what the board wants to do, I think I sent you some information about our minimum pay is $16.85, and we've only got 10 people in the entire city making that wage, and 7 of them have been here less than 3 months, less than 3 months.
10 out of how many total?
300, and We have 10 openings right now, so we have 340.
That's a pretty small number.
Right, and our again, it's us working together. I mean, when I say team, I'm talking team. This is all a team. And our turnover rate's one of the lowest that I can find at 10.8%. Will that go up? Yes. We'll have some people retire, we'll have some people leave. But it's due to these guys' work. These guys are the ones that make the hard decisions at night, the managers and the superintendents. And, I mean, I've got Josh and Tony back there that got unbelievable certificates that, you know, these guys, those aren't hard to get. I mean, they're both 4s. I mean, level 4s, those are hard. A lot of education, the things they have to have. I mean, I'm just blessed to have this team.
Madam Mayor?
Mark?
As we sit up here and all you employees are staring at us, this is the hardest topic to address because you probably more than likely are feeling like we're attacking you. And when we go to Walmart and the citizens come up to us and attack us, it feels like, about overspending or all the hundreds of potholes and the hundreds and hundreds of things we get, it is our job to question everything. And so I just want to defend the questions that are getting asked. Nobody is declaring or voting or saying they're going to do anything. They're just asking the really, really hard questions. And I'm sorry if the employees believe that we're attacking them, because I don't think there's a soul up here that has a employee in their mind when they question this. So I just want you to know that this spot's job is to question all expenses and all monies we spent. That's our job. And so please don't think that any comment made was, and most of them, believe it or not, are concerned about the lowest on the scale. And so I thank this board for asking the questions. I thank the Walmart attack that you get, because it's difficult. Nobody here, lower morale. We love the employees. We want you to do great. We want to do the right thing. It's just, we are literally asking questions because that's what is. The workshop is us asking about the money we're spending and the money we're receiving. And so please don't go home thinking, or if you're watching this, please don't think that.
Thank you, Mark.
One short thing.
Okay.
I know you're looking at me. It is
Yeah,
short.
we're getting ready
I
to
know.
end this conversation. We're going into the budget, so, yeah.
I was just going to say, Madam Mayor, Mark, I believe everyone in this audience also feels how difficult it is because they all have employees themselves that they're responsible for. And I think they also feel the heat, the pressure, and they've had to deal with it. And so they understand what we're going through because they have to go through it too. And, you know, it's hard on everybody. It's a hard topic to deal with. You guys all know that. But it has to be talked about. It's not something that can be avoided. So we appreciate your patience and just that you guys understand where we're coming from. So, and I think you guys are constantly always looking for savings. I said it. I think we should have that profit sharing type of mentality that we're all shooting for the same thing. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, David. So with that, we are going to move to our budget discussion, starting with our library. Christina?
Library revenues begin on page 26. Revenue is in line with prior year. Expenses begin on page 27. Personnel increases include the raise in healthcare increases, and overall operations are in line with prior year. Capital outlay is on page 28, and budgeted positions are on page 29, and there are no new positions for this department. Questions?
Thank you. Directors, comments or questions for Christina or Stephanie?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Reed.
Stephanie, did you get your name badges? So everybody did? Okay, that's all I had.
Anyone else?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, David.
I may have asked in the past, what is miscellaneous income? It seems, and how do you know it's always going to be the same amount? Or thereabouts, close, 6250?
In the library, the miscellaneous income is like when somebody makes a copy,
Okay.
fax, laminate, that kind of thing.
I'm wondering, how is it that your membership and fines is really not dropping much? And I understand you changed the policy to not be charging fines anymore. I saw your thing on your website where there's just no fines anymore at all.
No overdue fines. We still charge if you keep the book too long, but that does go away if you bring it back. Memberships are just anybody who lives outside of city limits or does not pay a utility bill to the city.
But you don't think membership and fines is going to drop very much with the change of policy to not be charging overdue?
Well, so far, we're still collecting all overdue fines that were already on the books. So this year, it's hard to tell. We're still collecting fines.
But so 2025 would be the first full year of the change policy? Okay.
Anyone else?
Madam Mayor, just
Betsy?
out of curiosity, you said, is it any utility, like if they live outside of the city limits, but they have city water, or how does that work?
It's a city utility.
Okay, so just one utility and, okay, thank you.
One other question I had,
David?
Stephanie, the expense your biggest expense should be and is books and publication. Why only $42,000? It just seems like that's not enough to spend for books. My personal opinion, I'm just,
I mean, I would gladly take 100 grand, but
I know.
it's just a small increase from last year.
Yeah.
We will spend what we get, but we're also trying to be reasonable with what we get.
I just was curious, because it's not that much money. Now, meeting room projector, does it have to be $25,000? Have you researched and found that that's what it's going to be, or?
That was a pretty reasonable eyeballing that a couple of companies gave us
Okay.
between 20 and 25.
If I may, Director, one of the things we looked at, we're having a lot of trouble out of the projection. You guys have seen that firsthand. So we went to revamp the whole room, and that ticket came in at, what was it, $225,000? I don't remember, Stephanie.
About 250.
About $250,000 to do everything. So we want to kind of do it in increments, and we thought the projector was something that we wanted to budget last year that I took out that I think is a necessity this year. But overall, if we did everything, we're looking at about $250,000.
Anyone else? All right, thank you, Stephanie. We will move to our community development. Chris, are you on the hot seat?
Community development revenues begin on page 30. Current revenues are coming in higher due to construction, and the increase is based on trend. Expenses begin on page 31. Personnel decreased despite the raise in the healthcare election changes. This does include a new building inspector and a part-time code enforcement, which is offset by the engineers moving to streets. So operations increased due to engineering fees of $53,000 being added. This would be revenue to the street department for the work that the engineers do for general fund. And capital outlay is on page 32. And budgeted positions are on page 33. This does include an additional full-time position and an additional part-time position. Questions?
Directors? Questions?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, David.
Chris, on the Northwest Arkansas Regional Planning Commission fees, it was 2 years ago, 12,000, jumped 30%, now it's down $1,000. Why would that, and I mean, that just, do they send us a bill, or is it percentage based on population, or?
That is,
Let-
they do send us a bill that would,
If I could answer that? We received a letter from the Northwest Arkansas Regional Planning Commission. Then they tell us what we are requested to pay, and they respectfully ask that the city adds this to their 2025 budget. And this is per our agreement with the Northwest Arkansas Regional Planning Commission. Whenever this was established, this was an agreement that all of the cities had with them.
Is each
So-
city different?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And they determine what that is,
Probably based,
probably.
no. I just didn't know it's down 1,000. I've never heard anything going down, so that's what kind of shocked me, but,
usually that's based off of, our neighboring communities may have a higher increase in population.
oh, okay.
So if you have, for example, I don't know if Centerton participates, but if Centerton increases their population at a higher rate than us, then ours may go down based off of the difference.
And then you have professional fees and engineering fees at the bottom. And they weren't on last year.
Correct. The professional fees were omitted last year unintentionally. The city engineer has asked me to add those back.
What are they for? What is professional fees for?
And I will deflect that to Kevin. He has the information on both the professional fees and the engineering fees.
Kevin Moore, city engineer. Professional fees are for whenever we outsource professional services, be that design or other things like that. For example, we have a mitigation project on Sager Creek that we're in the 5th year of those inspections, and since that's a specialized service, we've contracted an environmental engineer to come out and do those inspections. The engineering fees is added this year because engineering is moving to streets, so that's where we'll bill our time to community development, so that's why they're separate.
So it's not coming out of thin air, you're moving it between departments essentially.
That's correct. So
Cost.
anytime we spend that's not on streets, we'll have to bill to either community development or water services or the other departments.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Mark?
So help me, we're adding one staff, but I'm a little confused. We're adding a planner, not an inspector?
We're actually doing a new building inspector as requested. This is a building inspector, which I know that there's been some conversations about the different types of inspectors that we have. Those serve different purposes. A construction inspector is a different type of inspector. We are planning on moving from one building inspector to 2 building inspectors, if so approved by the board. But we are also removing the planning technician position. It's going from 1 to 0, and we're making a request to switch that to a planner 2 position. The plan is almost a reclassification to allow growth within the department and some restructuring to ensure that we can meet the demand moving forward with the same staff numbering.
I would think your planner 1 would go to planner 2.
Okay.
Is that what you meant?
That is
You said the planning technician is going to planner 2.
The planning technician is going away. That person is.
Will become a planner 1?
That position is going to technically become the planner 2 position, but the current planner 1 would move into the planner 2 position if that's the way that it works out. I believe since it's a new position, we may have some requirements to post that position for a certain period of time.
All these numbers are so confusing to me.
yes.
It's like-
Just for the board's knowledge, Wade will be retiring January 3rd. So,
And Wade's the planning technician.
yes, sir. He's going to be retiring January 3rd, and we reclassing that position into a planner instead of a tech.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Mindy?
Under capital outlay, what is the bridge for $85,000?
Ellen?
That is something, When I first got in the seat, David Cameron had called me, who was the city administrator at that time, and that what I believe is we were given an easement by New Life Church, and the agreement to getting the church was to build them a bridge. So Mr. Cameron let me know he did make that promise. It's kind of wasn't brought up, and then I had a couple board members come to me that wanted me to put this in the budget because it's an obligation that we had made. Kevin, I know you have a little insight. We've gone out there, can explain the easement. I have talked to Jay Williams about it, and we're just doing, I think we're okay, so we're doing some research on that.
It is on city property.
So it is on the church's property. But we have a drainage easement there. So several years ago, the city approached the church in order to help drain the subdivision to the north. Abraham Court and some of those other streets have had a lot of drainage issues in the past. So the church dedicated an easement across their property, and in exchange for a way to cross the property in the future. And so that's what we're fulfilling with this. Since that easement splits the property, they currently can't use the northeast about a fifth of the property. And what we call that in land acquisition world is an uneconomic remnant. So whenever we have a taking of some kind, we cannot leave somebody with an unused portion of property. So I've met with the pastor. We'll be putting together likely box culverts and then filling over the top of that to get them access to that portion of the property.
It's my understanding it's not a driving bridge, it'd be more of a walking bridge. Is that correct, Kevin?
Yes, we're looking at box culverts. It'd be capable of a vehicle or a mower to cross that area.
I had the same question because I'm like, bridge, what bridge? Where's it go? Bridge to nowhere.
Yeah.
And I
this
go
was
to
brought
church
up-
there, and I didn't know anything about it. But as soon as Kevin told me, I'm like, I remember. I don't know if I was on the board at the time, but that was a massive drainage problem with that housing addition. And we had to go out there because there were a lot of complaints from the people that live over there. And I didn't know what ever resulted from it, but I knew that there was something that we got their permission in exchange that I thought it had already been taken care of long ago.
Right, when I first got here, we were going to budget for last year, but I just need to do more research and
I
check
remember
into
it was quite a mess at one time, and we did fix the problem for the neighbors, but we didn't actually give any way to get to the rest of the property, so.
And we're
You'll
hoping that
remember,
we'll do that
part of that
in-house.
was the people that actually lived right next to that
Yeah.
drainage, they actually wanted us to buy the house.
Oh,
And-
yeah, that's
and
right.
rather than doing that, we came up with, our
Yeah.
engineering department came up with a way to help alleviate that problem.
Made their land
but-
a swamp.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot they were pushing hard for the board to buy the whole place.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it flooded the building, and I was going to, Tim Estes
Yeah.
went far and beyond to assist us in something that was not our fault,
Right.
but so many times our drainage issues come to us, whether it was our fault or not. But anyway, we had the problem. Tim happily helped us out, and I would venture a guess that this is not enough payback, but he is willing to accept it as break even.
Yeah, we were
Mark, did
lucky
you
we
have-
did
No,
not
that's
have
what
to
I
buy
said.
that house.
we are,
Yeah,
absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
Mark, did you have something else?
No, that's what I
Okay,
wanted
that was
to say.
it? Okay. Anyone else? Thank you, Kevin. Chris? I don't know why I keep calling you Kevin. Can we change your name? All right. Animal control. James?
Animal shelter revenues begin on page 34. Current revenues are slightly lower based on trend. Expenses begin on page 35, and the raise is included, but turnover has lowered the average wage. Operations increased due to increasing vet fees. Capital outlay is listed on page 36, And budgeted positions are on page 37, and there are no changes to the budgeted positions. Questions?
Yes, Mark?
I, for one, would very much like to see us maybe add a little to, I don't know if it's capital that way. I would like us to do some version of advertising and participating and helping get funding for neuter and spade. I think every one of those we can do is 9 we're not having to put down that nobody likes doing. I would like, I don't know how much money I'm talking about, $10,000, $15,000. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about that, but I feel like we should lead the charge in neuter and spade education and outreach. So I would like to at least throw a bone to the shelter to begin some version of because every one of those we do are 9 puppies we're not getting back to having to deal with and having to house and having to feed and having to take care of and then put down and make everybody in the building cry when it happens. So I don't know what it would take. I don't know how much money would really be needed, and $10,000 would be an insult. I don't know. But I'd like to see us put a little something, at least beginning the program for spade and neutering. I think it solves so much long-term. That education really helps the whole city.
James,
Madam
you have
Mayor?
any input?
Yes, Betsy?
Oh, I would, you know me, I would support anything that's going to make it better, because I also know my understanding is y'all have to do a lot of that stuff yourself, and that's awful. So, but I also know there are rescue groups and like Tractor Supply and different, all right, not there, but there are events for low-cost spay and neuter, so I have no idea how that would fit into it all.
So to expand on it, within the city, for city residents, we don't get very many calls to assist in spay and neuter. A lot of that comes from outside of our city limits, and a lot of it comes from Oklahoma. So that would make it a little difficult, because I don't think we'd want to be extending it over that direction and everything and keeping it within the city limits. I don't know, there would be some use with it, but I don't know how or where it would be at, so we'd have to gauge that a little bit. There are a few local places that do it. Spay Arkansas is over in Springdale. They do spay and neuters for their income based, and they do them for like 20 to 40. And our volunteer group, Tailwaggers, if they can get enough of them to go over there, then they will actually transport them all over to Spay Arkansas for the residents around, and then they will bring them back. And it just costs the citizens anywhere from $20 to $40 based on what the size of it is.
Well,
So-
can I throw this out to you then? Obviously, I caught you unaware, and budget's going to wrap up soon. I believe if you were to research this topic and come back in March, April, or whatever, come back to this board and pitch it to us out of budget, I don't know, I have a pretty good feeling this board will go for it. If you would go obviously I've not given you enough time. If you go and research it and then bring it back to this board, I'm throwing out April. If you brought it back to this board, I'm pretty sure that they would find some version of funding to give towards it.
You're talking about money to market, spay and neuter, to encourage people to get their pet spayed or neutered. Okay.
So
You're
just
not
market,
talking
not
about
actually
them
paying
doing
for
it, marketing
Yeah.
for encouraging pet owners to.
So not actually paying for the spay or neuter. Either.
If that's
Okay.
what it
No,
is you want, bring that back. I'm just saying, I'm sort of throwing this at you
Okay.
and not giving you time to study, but I believe that in the long run, there'll be a whole lot less dogs get put down or have to be given out at shelter, whatever, if we address this early in the beginning.
Anyone else?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, David?
Jim, are you the community services manager?
Yes, sir.
It's only listed as .5 on this thing. You're a half a person on this department. Do you have an animal control officer named Carlos?
Austin.
He came out and helped me with a deer, a massive deer that had been shot by someone on my property. And he just has a great attitude. I've heard other people compliment him and how hard he works. And he's a good, he cares, but he also does what he has to do. Yeah, so I just want to give him props.
Thank you, David. Anyone else? All right. Thank you, James.
Thank you,
Infrastructure.
James, not Jim, James.
Infrastructure. Who is our man for that? Dennis?
So infrastructure revenues begin on page 38. Revenues are a function of payroll as time is charged to other departments for projects. Expenses begin on page 39. Personnel increased due to the raise, plus mid-year raises in 2024 for staff retention, and one new equipment operator. So operation decreases. Basically, we had a leased building out there that was being used by the street department or the infrastructure department, and it was replaced with the one that we purchased earlier this year. That's why the lease amount is going away. So on page 40 is capital. There's no capital for this year. And for streets, it was moved to streets. And then there is one additional personnel, an equipment operator being requested on page 41. Questions?
Directors? Mark?
Wasn't that a long wait for us to really not even ask you any questions?
It's all right, I still got another one to go.
Now, I do have a question.
Yes,
How is
David.
it we have the street infrastructure foreman as only half a person?
Well, originally, when the infrastructure division was put together back in 13, they had a foreman on that crew. But once I took the infrastructure division on in 15 and added them to mine, I used my one foreman for this that was in streets. So we split the cost between the two divisions.
So what is infrastructure considered besides, you handle street, but what else is infrastructure?
Infrastructure is designed for new construction. They're the ones that build the new streets that we do,
Right.
and they lay new water and sewer main at times.
Okay.
And so the reason why the salaries come from whatever division they're working for at that time, if they're building a street, then their wages are paid out of that project in streets. If they're doing sewer, it's paid out of sewer. If it's doing water, it's paid out of water.
And when you say streets, just for the public watching, you also do sidewalks?
Yes.
Just to.
Anything that
Yeah.
has to do with street,
Or
sidewalks,
sidewalks, yeah.
drainage, right-of-ways, signage, that's what we do in streets.
I'm going to throw out now, we bid out several of these streets. So the complaint about Lake Francis Drive and I want to say Whippoorwill or whatever this one was over here.
Sager Creek.
Yeah.
Is it
We bid that out.
Yeah.
And I want the public to hear this very clearly. They are currently paying fines to us for the delay, which is what we are legally allowed to do to them. So this is not the city's fault. Well, we did take the lowest bidder, but that's what we're supposed to do. And we are receiving fines. It is not our employees. It is literally, we bid this out, they took too long for whatever reason, and we're charging them the legal limit for the delay.
Liquidated damages.
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with this department.
Those fines right now, I think, are over $10,000. We also have sent it to Jay Williams for review to see if we can increase those fines in the future. I think they're pretty low, so we're going to see what can be done and check the legal standing on
We
that.
just there are a lot of complaints about that, and it literally is out of our hands. We're doing what we're allowed to do. We'll try to find more that we can do in the future. Hopefully, when we bid the next one, we don't look at the lowest price one. We look at somebody that we know is quick and good.
Well, I also had a problem giving two separate streets in two different parts of town to the same company.
Agree.
And, you know, you live and learn, but I hope we can use this to say, we're gonna, even if this company comes in at the low bid, we can say, we have experience with you, and we're gonna go to the next company.
but
You can't
speaking
do
on-
that if you have a situation.
On the multiple things, several years ago, back in 2005, 2008, somewhere around in there, we expanded several, we did 5 projects at the same time, same bidder, and they did it faster and cheaper. So sometimes
always-
it's
yeah.
literally just the
Yeah.
company.
Betsy?
Isn't it $1,500 a day since like the beginning of August? I mean,
know
that
it's
was-
250.
Only 250 a day? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's not enough.
That's why, again, this is what was there, and it's in Jay Williams. I've talked to him about it, and we're trying to see what we can do. Again, be patient. We're close. We're getting there. Really close.
And I did have a question, just clarification. Dues and training was $1,000, then it went up to $10,000, and then it went down to $8,000. What is that?
The reason why dues and training went up is because of what the federal government did to us on licensing. So this year, we've managed to get hooked up with what's called MISO. So instead of it costing me $3,500 a person to get them a CDL, I can do it for less than $1,000 or right at $1,000 now with what we did, hooked up with MISO, and it's going to help us with that. And with that one, you never know how many people you're going to have to train, depends on how much turnover you have and stuff like that. So, but that is the reason for the decrease.
All right. Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, David?
can we jump over and take care of streets since Dennis is here?
While Dennis is still up here?
Do you want to?
I don't object to
Up
that.
to you guys.
Okay, so let's go to streets. We'll just keep you up there.
Well,
Then we probably need
I
to
may have
bring-
spoke too soon. There's an awful lot of streets. That's a long list of pages if anybody's got a lot of questions. You'd rather wait? Okay. I did have a question though, since James Harris is here. Could we do the airport, in the airport, the other thing for you, James? Could we jump to that?
I was going to ask as soon as you asked this one, yeah.
So, okay, so,
Armina, you just keep waiting.
yeah, Amanda, you don't have anything to do, right? So, all right, so, David, are we going to
Yeah,
talk
yeah, we'll
to-
just wait and do streets later.
So we're gonna wait. Dennis, I'm sorry,
Dennis,
you're gonna
'cause
have to wait.
It's
We're not getting back to you tonight, I can tell you that much.
It's pretty big and long, and the airport is probably, well, it's not as small and tiny as courts, which we got through pretty quick, but we might be, I mean, it might save James having to come back another night. If that's okay with Alan, is that okay? Yep.
Oh, let's go to airport.
I wasn't ready for airport, so you're dumping.
Page 73 is where that starts.
Revenue is up based on trend, and expenses begin on page 74. Cost of goods sold is increasing for the fuel purchases, and that is specifically related to sales. Personnel increase reflect the raise plus moving the part-time flight specialist to a full-time flight specialist. And operations decreased mainly due to moving the sales rebates into a discount at the time of purchase. And, let's see. Capital outlay is on page 75, and budgeted positions are on page 76, which again includes moving the part-time position to a full-time position. So are there any questions for the airport?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, David?
Is that why the salary jumped is going from part-time to full-time? It looks like, I mean, yeah, we have overhead and everything else, but just fuel sales to fuel, to the cost of fuel, we make like 200,000 a year. If you just look at the base cost and what we sell for, which is a nice little profit.
The hope is with the increase of jet traffic, because we now have 6 based on the airfield, that will continue to increase.
Good.
One of the things me and James worked together with Jason was we met with a lot of the folks that buy a lot of our jet fuel, and we set a price where it was fluctuating $2, $3. We are now charging, James, remind me, is it $1 something over what we pay for it?
For all of our jet fuel, whatever we pay for, we increase it by $2. And then for our avgas, our 100 low lead, for their self-serve, we increase that by 60 cents from what we buy it for. And then if we have to pump it, it's $1.10.
So we put, so if jet fuel goes way down and just say we pay $1, we charge them $3. If it jumps up to $5, we charge them $7. So it's not always moving for them where we're charging. They always know what they're going to be paying for it, and that's gone very well with the folks that buy jet fuel. I think we started that about 6 months ago, James, somewhere in there.
Yes, it still moves based off of what we are purchasing it for. We have set for our based aircraft that have been there, that have bought bigger amounts of fuel, we are giving them just a discount on the front end rather than giving them the rebate at the end.
Now, we have, from this previous year's budget, a radio repeater. Are we buying a second one? Or did we just not buy it the first? Okay.
No, with the runway rehab project that was going on,
Right.
the contractors had set a date of April, and then they went June, and then it went August, and so our engineering group had been trying to deal with all of that help us with these type of projects, and they sent one thing over to me, and I talked with the pilots that are based there, and they didn't like the concept because they had used it at other places and it just didn't work real well. So I'm asking to be able to move that to next year to be able to research it out a little bit more.
Mark?
Christina, on the credit card fees, we have a very distinct amount of money that we're declaring. Do we not just add that, for example, when we allow someone to pay for their electricity with a credit card, we automatically add, and I don't remember the percentage, 3%, and that's just part of the bill. If it was $50 and it's 53 or whatever it is, how it works out, right?
Yes, but we have to pay for the credit card fees. I mean, the city gets billed the credit card fees, so that's the expense that you're seeing, is what we're going to pay the credit card company.
So when you're buying fuel, and let's say it's 3% just for the thing, you buy $100, do we charge 103? Or is it part of the 60 cents more?
The airport is different than pretty much everywhere else in the city, so I'm going to let James answer that. But you're correct, that's how we do it the rest of the way through the city.
Speaking of that, and that's a different topic, and I'm sorry, why don't we let them, the courts and the fines, and why don't we set that up where everybody can pay 3%? Anywhere we receive money, why don't we receive credit cards in 3%?
My understanding is that the courts goes through virtual justice, and they, basically, it's more like the revenue department where you pay the third party directly. But everywhere else in the city that runs through the accounting software, we just add that 2.7.
There's a different law, is what you're
Yes.
saying, there are different, gotcha.
So for the airport, we are advertising gas just like every gas station out there. And if we say we're going to be this price, and then they come in and they pay with their credit card and we add 3%, we're going to lose out on a lot of people. So that it is just sort of, that extra little bit is sort of built into the price.
Okay, no, and I'm okay with that. I would like the whole city to do it all the same, and you can't, there's laws that interfere with that. I'm fine with that. I would rather us have a 3%, that's what it's gonna cost you to use a card here, but you can use the card here. But obviously, that's not working everywhere.
But this credit card service fees is what we pay the credit card company. Okay.
Right.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, James. Give me that $10 later for getting you out of here tonight. I did have, before we go on, I did have a question for Christina. We were talking about credit card fees. I'd meant to ask you on community development, they also have credit card fees that's going from $1,800 to $2,400. Why would we have credit card fees in community development?
Purchase permits.
Oh, okay.
And-
They
and
pay
if-
with the credit card
And they pay
on
with their
permit,
credit
okay.
card, yes.
So that's the same thing, it's just that we're doing, like on the airport, we're having to pay the credit card
Right.
company.
We have to pay the credit card company.
Okay.
But we do charge the,
Yeah, on,
the fee
on
on
James's,
top
it
of
says
the
credit card
permit.
service fees. On this one, it just said credit card fees, so I didn't know if that meant we're paying for fees we use on our city credit cards or what. So that's what we, for getting permits, okay.
The
Thank you.
next contestant.
Yeah. We're going back to maintenance, I believe.
Director Lister texted me and said she's watching online. She's watched the whole meeting, so don't be talking
She
bad
told me
about
she was
her,
going to.
said.
No pressure then, Armenta, for Lisa's watching online.
No pressure.
Ask questions, Lisa.
so fleet services, their revenue begins on page 42, and this is our maintenance department. They, revenue is decreased slightly, and that's based on trend, and expenses begin on page 43. Aside from the raises, deferred compensation increased as positions reach their one-year anniversary. Although current year expense for vehicle and equipment operation is trending currently over 500,000, staff believes this is unaddressed repairs and maintenance from prior years that we have gone through and completed now. And along with materials and supplies increasing, these are the main increases in operations. Capital outlay is listed on page 44, and budgeted positions are on page 45. And there was a request for reclassification of one position, but there are no additional positions being requested.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Mark?
I have discussed this with you in the past, and I have also discussed it with several other department heads. I would very much like the maintenance department to head and be a big part of our long-term automotive policy. I believe, especially with some larger corporations, that there is a time and a mileage on vehicles that is the best time to trade. And I believe that you're the one to do, you're the one that would have the variety. I mean, the fire department's obviously going to understand fire trucks, but you're going to understand the variety of different vehicles that we have in the city. And And I would very much like to encourage, and I don't know what that has to do with budget, as much as you're the one going to have to spend the time doing it, but I would like to see a universal policy for the city and its vehicles. We buy a lot of expensive vehicles. And we really, as I talk to department heads, and I'm not talking about any one person here, we don't have a consistent plan. Some people, you know, base it on hours or years, or everybody has their own, what they believe is the best. And I don't think, for example, you and I discussed the flex fuel problem that's out there that I don't know that all the departments understand when they're ordering a vehicle, and flex fuel might be the cheapest one out there, I don't know. But it is a poor choice for us to, in maintenance, to purchase a flex fuel, or at least it is right now. So can you see yourself creating because I'm under the impression we have some 1980 trucks, and I think there was even a 1978 vehicle that we have, and I think there's still some World War II Jeeps out there, I think. I know we've got some Hummers, and we have an enormous variety of vehicles out there that I don't think we have any kind of long-range plan for. Do
So
you?
Mark, can I ask you this, then? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but I hear what you're saying to her and what you're asking. That's not anything that we can discuss in the budget tonight? So can we just give that direction to the administrator for him to get with maintenance and to work on developing a plan, and then get that out to all the directors to review and see if we can do that? Are you good with that?
Good with that?
Thank you, sir.
Just
Yes.
real quick, real
Yes, sir.
briefly, I don't think we have any Humvees left. I think we had 4 or 5. We've gotten rid of all of them. And then we were also part of a state and federal
I would
funding where
criticize them
got-
that.
Where we got old equipment, and we still have I think a World War II tractor that runs great. And I don't, they might be getting a fist fight. We try to get rid of that thing. They like it, and it didn't cost us anything. So
So you
just-
can get all that to them and.
Yes.
And work on that. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Any other questions?
Madam Mayor.
Yes, Betsy.
Our budget says that you actually only have 5 mechanics.
That is a typo, I believe.
Okay, I thought so, yeah. And the other thing, you're adding janitorial services. Who's done it?
Janitorial services we've never had in our facility because we were so low-staffed that I always done the janitorial. And then when I was able to get an assistant, then she and I together done the janitorial. And as we have grown and added more employees, it's not as easy for us to take care of now.
No, and that's totally understandable, because I assume all the other departments already have that. So I'm glad you're finally getting it. And your building got insulated and taken care of?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good.
We
Thank
have
you.
2 waste oil furnaces now in the south building that we heat with. So we use our waste oil
Yeah,
to
that's cool,
provide heat.
warm. So,
Good.
thank you.
Director, if I may, that number below 8 is correct. What it is you have 5 mechanics, and then the foreman position, which is still a mechanic, that's the 6th. So-
Right, no, I meant actual staff right now. It shows there's only 5. It shows there are only 5 mechanics right now under actual current
Right.
staff.
So full-time employees at 8, that is correct.
Right,
Okay, I was making
But-
sure, I was making sure I was looking at it right.
yeah, I was referring to what she's got right now.
Gotcha.
And it says 7, and I thought, and that means she has 5 mechanics, but that was a typo or inaccurate, so.
Anyone else?
Madam Mayor.
Yes, David.
Now, Arminta, I went to Sam's the other day, and I bought a water cooler. It's about $180. So I'm kind of surprised this one is $25,000, water cooler.
That's more than one.
What does that mean, water cooler? Like,
It's a big fan that you add water to
okay.
that will, Portacool. is what-
Portacool,
Is what they're
okay.
called.
Okay. I didn't know. I wanted some explanation because it says water cooler, so I didn't know. Is it replacing one we have now, or is it?
No, we do not have
We don't
anything.
have one? Okay.
And it's very warm in the shop when the guys
Oh,
are working.
I can imagine. So this is almost like an air conditioning system,
Yes.
really? Okay. I'd have better understood it if it said giant air conditioner. I got it now. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Amanda, good job. All right, finance. Christina, you're on your own now.
I am. Finance revenues begin on page 46. Revenue is unchanged from prior year. Expenses begin on page 47. The decline in personnel includes the raise, but the grant coordinator was reclassed as a grant writer and moved to administration. Operations increased almost 20,000 due to IT cost increases, and another 23,000 was budgeted for the audit. When we put this together, we had the audit out for bid, and 1 year, the bids came back closer to 80 grand, so we wanted to make sure we had enough money in the budget for that. And capital outlay is listed on page 48. And personnel is on page 49, and there was one fewer position. Again, the grant coordinator is moved to the administration department. Questions?
Questions, directors?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Betsy.
You were pretty close. What are you, $3,500 for uniforms?
The money for uniforms is for the purchasing department. That would be Tommy and his staff,
Oh, okay.
out
Yeah.
of the electric department.
Right, yeah,
Yes.
that makes sense. I'm like, yeah,
No,
not.
I don't wear a uniform.
Right, yeah. I
No.
was not understanding that, so thank you.
David?
So we're not adding any new employees, it's just reclassifying?
Correct.
And then on your capital outlay this past year, Christina, do you drive a 4x4 extended cab?
I don't, but Tommy does.
I wondered, but I had to give you a hard time, $50,000, I could see. Yep, head of finance.
Yep.
I'm driving my big rig.
Anyone else? All right, thank you. Christina?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
may I have a bathroom break?
Yes, we may have a bathroom break. We will
Right before I missed.
stop for about 5 minutes here and then reconvene. We're going to call back to order this budget review. And Human Resources is next. And if I could just remind everyone as you're asking questions or if you're answering questions that a nod of the head can't be recorded. So if you ask something, if you're asked something and you give a reply, please state that in the mic so that it will be on the recording. So with that, we will move on. And Human Resources, Misty.
Revenues begin on page 50, and revenues are in line with prior year. Expenses begin on page 51. Personnel increases reflect the raise and healthcare increases, and operations are in line with prior year. There's no capital outlay for 2025, see page 52, and budgeted positions are unchanged on page 53. Questions?
Directors? Questions?
Boy, I tell you what, out of all the departments, Misty, $200 in income, you're right up there. You're
don't-
saving the city.
Listen, I don't even know how we made that.
Found it under a table, yeah.
Pockets in the, fell out of the chair.
Anyone? Hey, You did good.
This
Thank
may
you.
go quicker than courts did, you know?
All right, looks like we're moving into our enterprise funds. First up, electric. Bill.
So electric revenues begin on page 54. There's a slight increase in revenues from prior year. Cost of goods sold declined slightly. Power cost is trending lower due to lower power cost adjustment, but the anticipated rate increases are included in that number. So expenses begin on page 55. Personnel increases reflect the raises and healthcare increases. Operations increased mainly due to vehicle and equipment maintenance and materials and supplies based on trends. And AMI metering costs, those increase as we add more AMI meters to the system. It's also important just to point out that when it comes to vehicle and equipment maintenance, when we moved everything to the maintenance department last year, we basically put in an estimate. So that's why, as that's trending up, we're adjusting that budget upward. Capital outlay is on page 56, and budgeted positions are on page 57 with no changes.
Questions, directors?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, David?
I am kind of surprised that we are not adding a few more. I know you've got 3 intern, apprentice, part-time employees, but I'm surprised we're not adding more full-time just because of the growth of the city. And it looks like we've held, I don't know what, well, we don't have 2023 here, so I don't know what it would have been, but I mean, you're not adding anyone for next year, Phil, so I don't know. I'm just saying electric always is part of the growth. And so.
We are adding more money into our payment to contractors, and so that's kind of making up for the difference there.
Okay. Now what did they do? What did the contractor?
This year, they've been trimming trees for us. They've also pulled underground in for our pump line. And also, they've inspected poles for us, and so that's the main 3 things.
You've
What
been
did you
able
call
to
them?
keep your guys back for
Contractors.
some sense.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
could you tell me what the $80,000 for vehicle replacement is for?
Yes, we're having a pickup that's got a lot of maintenance issues, and so we're needing to replace it with another pickup, and it's has a utility-type bed on it that makes it more expensive than a normal pickup.
This is just one pickup?
Yes, sir.
What year is the one that you're replacing?
2002.
What, Ford, Chevy, what?
Dodge?
Dodge? Is it a 3/4 ton?
Yes.
Is the bed a specialty bed that only electric trucks have, or is it just,
It's a utility bed designed for electric. It's got a lot of bends on it and heavy duty, so we can do a lot with it. Put wire reels on it, things like that, so it's beefed up.
did you say big dump, D-U-M-P?
Beefed up.
Beefed
And-
up,
and
sorry.
Strengthened. And it's be a crew cab type setup so that we can haul more than just 2 people. When you go to crews like that, crews generally have 4 people to a crew, 3 to 4, and so we can,
If we do an agreement with, say, I don't know, somebody in Oklahoma or somewhere where we send a crew, do we send our trucks?
yes,
Generally, if you're sending, let's say 2 crew, or not 2 crew members, but 2 crews, is that 4 vehicles, or is that 2.5, or, you know what I mean, to pick up in 2 trucks, or what is that?
yeah, it depends on what's going on. If it's a storm outage, we'll be sending a big line truck so we can dig holes, put in poles. Then we'll have another bucket truck so we can go up and string wires with it. And then we'll have another service truck like we're wanting to buy to be hauling equipment with it. So we'll generally send 3 to 4 trucks. If there's, we have a backyard machine that we also like to go into residence places with that'll go through a 36-inch gate. And so a lot of these, like Claremore was at recently, why we brought in equipment like that so we can work in backyards and help them out quicker than tearing down fences and things like that.
So when we do go, the men tend to work 20 hours a day kind of thing, or a lot. And so that's some massive overtime. So when we pay them, it's obviously out of our budget, but do we get reimbursed from,
Yes, we get reimbursed.
in full?
Yes.
So we just bill them whatever the cost was? Okay.
Anyone else? Thank you, Phil. Wastewater, I believe, no, water is next. Josh? Oh, Steve?
Steve.
Okay. I thought sure you'd put them on the hot seat for you.
I will, but we have admin in here, so
Oh, there you go.
So water revenues begin on page 58. There's a 3% increase in revenues from prior year, mainly due to sales tax, increased utility sales based on trend and growth, offset by lower interest at the water plant as debt is paid down. We accrue that 5/8 sales tax, and we try to put as much of it as possible on the debt each year, so the interest is going down. Administration expenses begin on page 59. Personnel costs declined despite the raise because the assistant director position was budgeted for 7 months in 2024 and will not be budgeted for
62.
in '25. Operations increased mainly due to administrative department charges with a reallocation of the engineering expenses. And as much of the water treatment plant debt, as I said, will be paid every year based on what we accumulate from the sales tax. So basically, the way this one works is we've got administration, and then we have plant, and then we have wastewater plant and water services. So we can start with administration. Any questions?
See, we talked on the phone or email or something, and you sent me some pictures about the dumped truck, the $185,000 dump truck, and the one you were replacing is obvious. You bought it in, I don't remember what year, it's a 1997, it's wore out, right?
there's a 1990 and a 2000, but we'll get to that. That's in wastewater capital.
Oh, it's different? Okay, so
Yeah.
explain this one then. What are you replacing with this one?
Water?
Yeah, I'm on page 62, and you have $185,000 dump truck, water service.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought that was out of wastewater. Okay, that's the one we talked about. The 1990 and the 2000 model dump truck that the water service crew currently has, we're going to take the 2000 model and replace it with this new one. And $185,000 for a dump truck seems like it is a lot of money. But unfortunately, that is the price of a regular dump truck. It doesn't have any bells and whistles on it or anything, just plain old dump truck.
Plain old dump truck? I think it was maybe the streets department, you're asking for a tri-screw, which is a heavy-duty dump truck, and it costs quite a bit more, but we'll get that when we get there. So you also have a 2004 utility truck for $150,000.
Wanted to replace that 2004.
Yeah, Well, 150,000 is how much the new one is going to be. Describe a utility truck for me.
It's a one-ton dually chassis with a utility bed on the back of it, the kind that has all the doors, that has bins for tools and that type of thing.
And that's the price of utility trucks now? Is it a diesel?
I don't believe this one is.
The one you're ordering is not a diesel?
I don't know that for sure, but I don't think it is. The one we have now is not.
Is it four-wheel drive?
No.
It's not four-wheel drive and it's not a diesel and it's still 150,000. So is the bed something I'm unaware of? Is it a specialty bed?
Well, like I said, it's gold-plated. No. It has several boxes on there. There's, up along the top, there's a long skinny box. When you pull it down, there'll be a light in there that comes on, and then you'll have tools. Then there's a tall box on one end, well, both ends, actually, because where the back wheels are, it'll be a long skinny bed, long skinny bed, and then two on the ends, and then the same on the other side. That's just,
If anyone's watching, I just want to, the dump truck is absolutely, positively, you wore the other one out. You only paid, I can't remember what you told me, 79,000 or something for it, and you wore it out. And so I'm wanting to assure the public that the money's not getting wasted. We're not buying specialty, unbelievable vehicles. We're buying the best quality we can get for the money to hopefully last. The last one, this 2004 we're trading in, is 20 years old. So we're getting 20 years out of a vehicle, wearing them out. And the dump truck was a 97 or a 94, you said, and a 2002 or whatever. We're working these things 30 and 40 years and wearing them out. Are they expensive? Yeah. But I just want everybody to know that we are doing our due diligence. This is trying to save money. This is trying to do what we're supposed to do, and that's be careful with the taxpayers' funds, yet get good quality equipment for our people to work in. So I mean, it looks like I'm beating you up over this, and I'm not. I want the public to know we are spending money. It is a lot of money, and it's a fortune. Things are expensive now, but this is what's needed. There's not wasted. We're not giving people Cadillacs drive home in. This is just hard-working equipment. Thank you.
Anyone else? And we will move on to
Water plant
got
on
next?
page 60.
wastewater.
No, water plant.
I'm sorry, water. I'm sorry.
Wait, that wasn't water?
Well, there's water, well, in the past, we've had questions about the water administration, the water plant, and the water services.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, she's
Well,
dividing those up.
That's okay.
I just jumped in on that one.
If nobody has any other questions related to the water department, we can skip to the wastewater.
I believe we're good with that.
Okay. So the wastewater revenue begins on page 64.
I knew that.
The increase in revenues from prior year is due to increased utility sales based on trend and growth. And then the operating expenses are listed on page 65, 66, and 67. And capital outlay is on page 68. And here, you'll notice there are no personnel positions here because water and wastewater, the administration and the water services, their salaries are split between these two funds. So they were all listed under water. I believe there actually is an additional water operator that we did not discuss.
So we'll give them a minute just to kind of look through this, and then we'll see if you have any questions, directors.
Can you tell me what a Teletruck forklift wastewater for $100,000 is?
Kinda. It's not your standard forklift like you would see in a warehouse. It has like a tractor body on it, and then it has forks like a forklift in the front of that, but the difference is, rather than just going up and down or tilting, this thing can go out. And it helps both plants because they have chemicals that are in, what are they, 250 or 300 gallon totes? And it has, the frame on it has holes that you can put forks in, and you can pick the whole tote up and move it around. Currently, they have a heck of a time trying to move those around with what they've got now, which is a backhoe and probably some wire, or not wire, but rope and.
So you're not replacing
Crude
something,
weight.
you're literally getting one to begin with.
Yeah, we don't have one.
Who manufactures what you're trying to buy?
There's several different ones. I don't know what kind we're gonna wind up getting. We'll go through Sourcewell most likely, and they'll say this is the cheapest one and this is the brand. But there's a JCB is one I've noticed a lot. And that's the only one I can think of, but there are several different.
John Deere don't make one of these, then it's a specialty kind of thing.
Yeah, like I said, it doesn't look like and I was having a hard time trying to describe it because it doesn't look like a regular forklift. You'll see them a lot on construction sites. In fact, Simmons is doing some work right over by the Public Works building, and they have one out in the parking lot. So they're used,
So go look, what color is it?
it's yellow.
Yellow.
Anyone else?
What is a centrifugal blower?
Centrifugal blower. It's over at the wastewater plant, it's used for, basically, that's the air supply for the biological treatment.
Are we using one now?
Yeah, we have 4 of them, and we have one that's in need of replacement.
Thank you. You say lift station upgrade, which one is that?
I generally leave that up to our water services superintendent. What he is talking about upgrading is a sewer lift station over on Briarwood.
Help me, where's Briarwood?
Briarwood's off of Rains Road, and it dead ends to the south. And once you get to the dead end, you keep going a little ways, and back in the field is a lift station.
Rain Road. The, I just go throw this out, spoke with Jonathan Barnett about, I can't think of the name, it goes straight out on Mount Olive. They don't have
Coons
sewer down.
Edition.
Coons Edition. They don't have sewer, and he very much thinks that we should provide some version of a lift station out there. And I would like that to at least be noted that we need to budget at some point, because that's not about providing something that doesn't live in the city. That's literally the health and welfare of our town. That it's not well built for septic systems. But I'm just shooting a shot over the bow saying we need to plan. So, thank you.
Anyone else?
I think we've addressed the Coons addition before.
Yeah.
Options. I'm sorry, I think we've addressed the Coons addition before, and we tried, and I don't know that we had a lot of options, so I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah.
So,
That's something I looked in when I first got here, and it's just not something the city can pay for. It's not, and I'll
We can talk
do some
later.
reach around and talk to you about it.
Anyone else? Solid waste. Jason,
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry.
you want to stand up while you talk?
I might. No, this chair's nice.
All right.
Solid waste revenues begin on page 69. Revenues increased based on current year trend plus growth. Expenses begin on page 70. Personnel increases reflect the raise and healthcare increases. Operations increased mainly due to increased costs associated with the landfill contract. And debt service is new this year. It's related to the 5 leased vehicles during 2024. Capital outlay is on page 71, and budgeted positions are on page 72. And there are no additional budgeted positions, although there's one position being requested to be reclassed. I believe that is to a driver to a commercial lead.
That's correct.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Mark?
So tell me about an $80,000 landfill trailer.
Yeah, believe it or not, that is the cheapest one I can find,
It's one?
just one.
How many do we have now?
I think we have 4. The problem is most of them are dilapidated and they're getting to the point where we can't go to Tulsa to, like we've been doing here lately with some of the trailers we got, they're not safe. So if we're gonna continue to take loads to Covanta, I need a trailer that's gonna get there and make it there without any issues. So that's the main reason why we need it, but the trailers that we got, I've got the sides busted out of a lot of them. The walking floors don't work in some of them. They're in bad shape.
Jason, with this one, I'm sorry, Director, for the directors, if they approve this, are you looking to take one out, are you looking to take some out of service?
There's one that I would really like to take out of service, yes. I've put so many Band-Aids on that trailer, that's the only thing holding it together, if I'm gonna be frank. But you gotta remember, these trailers aren't normal semi-trailers. They've gotta have the reinforced walls to take all that trash, and when we pack the trailer at the transfer station, they're getting bowed, they're getting bent up, they're getting, tore up. It's the nature of it, unfortunately. But, the city of Siloam has done really good as far as keeping the trailers they got on the road, and a new one is very much in need.
I don't haul trash, but I haul everything but trash in my trailer, so I really do understand. But the truth of the matter is, they can all be rebuilt. It's how much does it cost to rebuild them?
Yeah, and that's the bad thing too, is the aluminum. Trying to find somebody to actually weld aluminum that's
Yeah.
a feat.
What's the brand of the trailer you're looking for?
Oh, man, Titan, I believe is the name of it.
Tufkin?
Maybe that's it. I'm not real familiar with trailers, I apologize, but,
Well, we beat them up. The truth of the matter is, you're putting trash in them and you're taking trash out of them, and nobody thinks, oh, be careful with that.
right.
That's
And
just the way
that's
it works.
exactly. And with Covanta, I gotta have a walk-in floor trailer, because they don't have a tipper for us to use, so I have to have a walk-in floor trailer.
How old is the one you're wanting to retire?
Oh, God. There's no telling, probably from the day they started hauling their own trash, to be honest with you.
No, it's not a 70s model, I know.
No, it's not 70s. So whenever I'm pretty sure it's whenever they started hauling their own trash to the landfill. It's in that age, and I don't know how long that's been, 10. So,
Tell me about your director's vehicle.
yeah, I don't have a car.
You don't drive a car now?
I drive my personal car, so,
Do we pay you mileage? Do we pay you a monthly?
no, I just do the in-town, and if it's a long trip, I try to find a city rig to take, so this is just getting me something to be able to get around in.
We have tried several times to find him a vehicle, and then find him a vehicle, and he gives it to an employee that has greater needs, and we just didn't have a vehicle for him, and he's been driving his vehicle almost the year he's been with us.
And you've not even been turning in mileage, Jason?
I mean, and I'll be completely honest with you, I didn't even want to bring this up in that, it's really not a big deal for me I just zip around town, so.
Well, please don't be embarrassed, this is what we do. But I'm going to look you square in the eye and say, 44,000, what's that, a Impala? What's
No,
that cheap? There's nothing that cheap.
Yeah, no, I was just looking at a base Dodge Ram pickup,
Two-door?
two-door.
Yeah, we can get trucks about as cheap as we can get cars, because again, they're not like police vehicles, because they're not going to be outfitted.
So you don't ever, I didn't even look for dues and training. You don't send your people,
Oh, I do.
and what do they drive?
Most of the time when we do our dues and training, there's nothing really local that we do. Most of the stuff's out of state, so we fly if we have our training. So Waste Expo is a big thing that I go to every year. I think it's important to go to it as we get to see all the new trucks, all the new technology, things like that. So that's what we do with our dues and training.
We take the city airplane, didn't you know?
I'm not joking, 44,000 is pretty cheap. I don't know how wise it is to buy a two-door truck if you don't have any trucks. Sometimes it's wiser to buy a four-door pickup so you can take three people with you. But I don't think you can do that for 44,000. So
I'm gonna do some looking. I've got some friends that sell vehicles that they said they would hook me up if I ask nicely, so we'll see what I can do. But, you know, I was trying to be as conservative as possible with that, and I talked with some of the guys over here, and with our discounts that we get, they think they might be able to get me something in that price range.
What I had him do is reach out to the police department who does vehicles and trucks, and they reached out to Superior to see what we could get trucks, and it isn't the cheapest, but it isn't the most expensive. It's one that's going to be durable and last the city a while.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Are you still?
No, go ahead.
Well, thank you for looking for something that is economical and reasonable. We've questioned a lot of the vehicles for being too much, and now we're questioning yours for being too little.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And I appreciate that you're
Thank you.
looking for something economical.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Ken?
I'm sorry, David, go ahead.
I was just going to say regarding vehicles, I still want to say Chief Allen, relative to what Mark had said at one time, either this meeting or the last, about you wonder if it would not be ideal to have the same type or brand of vehicle across the entire city, just based upon reliability and going with one dealership, and just no matter what department, don't leave it to the department, leave it to the purchasing agent, that if there is a vehicle needed, it should be like coordinated through instead of, it's just a thought.
Ken?
I don't spend money any more than anybody else, but I know firsthand what Jason does, and he puts his people first, and I have seen him work and go to things with his employees. I would really like to find out what a four-door truck would run. I don't think it's going to double in price. I know you are turning that department around. I mean, all of our department heads are great, but you are taking one that has lost money since day one, and all of a sudden has turned that into a profit center, and that's amazing in and of itself, what you've been able to do. I don't think it would be a terrible thing to get you a decent truck where you and some of your team, should you need to go to a meeting locally, Fayetteville, Bentonville, something like that, I don't think that's too much to ask for. So, Alan, if we can, as we wind up this process, just get some pricing on what a four-door truck would be. I'd like to see that.
Madam Mayor, is the thing that's listed 3/8 cents sales tax, Christina, is that the quality of life sales tax? The 3/8 cent?
Half of it is for quality of life and half of it is for utilities.
But you have
So,
it listed
yes.
under 3/8 cent sales tax, so we might have additional money in that fund that if we needed to go higher, we could, correct?
I believe so. I was actually just trying to look that up.
It says 3/8 cent sales tax and grant funded. What does it mean, grant funded?
On occasion, we do receive grants, and
But
so.
not anything specific on
No.
this now, okay.
No, this isn't grant funded. This is just 3/8 cent sales. And I'm pretty sure, if you'll just give me a minute, I can tell you whether or not we have the money in that fund to go up.
Right there, Jason, the roll-off truck, 217,000, we did get that
Yes,
this
sir.
last year.
Yes, sir. I'll just throw this out here. As far as additions, I also added a transfer station pump. Right now, we don't have a pump in the pit, There's never been one. So what happens whenever it rains or if it gets stopped up, all that water floods out that entire pit. So I spoke with Steve, and Steve told me about a grinder pump, never even heard of one. Anyway, got looking at those, that's about what this will cost. We'll put that in there, that's gonna keep all the fines down to keep that from swelling out and be able to get it into the waste water, if you will, hopefully better. So we'll be able to grind up some of those fines that are getting in there, that's getting traveled and getting stuck, and I'm sure those guys love us over there from that, but this should remedy that problem, so.
Alan? No?
Oh, I was
Christina?
just going to say that there are remaining 3/8 funds, there's about $400,000.
Okay.
I think so. I don't know how to make this. I think, Alan, you're going to look into that. I think there are
Yes,
at
sir.
least
And I think
2 or
we're
3 of
pretty-
us that
I
are
think-
interested in a four-door truck.
Yes, sir. I think we're really close at that price, but I'll do some checking.
It'll make Jason's quality of life better. I had to joke.
No, I appreciate it, I do. And I'll be honest with you, I'll look into it, I don't need anything super fancy, so, I think Alan and I can look, and I've been talking with the guys at Superior, so.
You'd probably have at least 20,000 more to get.
Thanks for being humble. We didn't
Yeah,
ask you.
Yeah, no, it's good.
All right. Thank you, Jason.
All right, thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I'm tired. Been
Well,
4 hours.
let's see if we can get through street.
We can't.
That's the one I wanted to spend the most
We sent
time
our
on.
street department head home.
No, he's here.
Oh, I thought he'd gone ahead and headed up.
No, we're good.
I really don't want it to continue, so.
This will be just, that's the mayor's or board's pleasure, but this will be Steve's last budget meeting. He'll be retiring on Friday. So again, Dennis can come in and do it, so whatever the board wants to do.
I think we need to get through streets tonight.
I disagree.
Is that
I-
basically
I
not the
believe there's
last one?
Too many streets. We've been here nearly 4 hours. But
Yeah, you can make a motion in a second, and we'll put it to a vote.
Move we adjourn?
I will second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay.
Hey.
I believe we are going to continue. Yep.
Street revenues begin on page 77. Revenues increased mainly due to engineering charges to other departments. Expenses begin on page 78. Personnel increases reflect the raise and addition of the engineering department from community development. Operations declined as the engineering fees due to the general fund were removed. So I guess to clarify, when the engineers were sitting over in community development, part of the administrative charges was engineering fees. Now that that has moved to streets, that money is going to streets. So capital outlay is listed on page 79 and 80. And budgeted positions are on page 81. And as stated earlier, this page will be updated to reflect the engineering staff. Questions?
Very good. Questions, directors?
Madam Mayor,
Yes. Read.
maybe we've seen a good increase on salary and wages. If you could just kind of go over that real quick, please. Just a brief overview.
The increase in salaries and wages?
Yeah.
Okay. So there are, I want to say 4 engineering positions that are moving from community development over to streets. And as it's the city engineer and the project engineer, altogether, those wages by themselves are about $500,000. answer your questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Very happy to see the bird streets on the Capitol Outlet.
Anyone else?
We're doing, finishing the bird streets, right, Steve?
Yes.
How many birds are there?
Four.
I think there's four, yeah.
There's four, yeah.
We got the Sager, is it Sager Creek? And then these extend off of it.
Right. And it didn't seem fair to the residents to be able to build a brand-new street and then leave the ones coming from their houses kind of ratty looking.
Oh, they're desperate too.
Weren't these concrete streets?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Well, I know Sager was, are the bird streets too? Boy, it's just, I mean, those concrete streets just don't last very long. They crumble and,
They were concrete. Yeah, now they're just crumbled.
yeah, almost
and-
sand.
And-
They used to
and
be
if I-
concrete.
If I may, I mean, it depends on the subgrade. I mean, asphalt is the same way. So those concrete streets should have lasted longer had there been something underneath it. But if
See,
anybody that
Bellevue
drives it-
Addition though is the same way.
Yeah.
Bellevue Addition, oh, they're horrible. And it's because there's nothing underneath them.
If you notice that all the panels are just out of line,
Mhm.
that's just because of what's underneath it.
Well,
Any other
you're right,
questions?
Steve. They've had to put up with Sager, so they'll be happy to get their
Finish it
street
out.
redone.
For a long time. All right, anyone else? Alan?
Thank you, Board. We can have, I think Mr. Director Wiles will be out of town next week. We have the week of 7th, 8th, and then I will be out of town the 13th through the 23rd. So if we need to have a workshop before the next board meeting for any last-minute questions, Ms. Ressler's texts me back and forth and doesn't seem to have a lot of questions. But staff is available for questions. Please email any questions to Ms. Christina or myself if you have some issues. And hopefully, we can get through and possibly put this on the October 15th agenda.
I want to apologize to Steve. I was not fully grasping that streets is under you as well. I thought Dennis Kendi had left and that it was up to him, so my apologies.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah, yes, you
We do
being
have-
here,
He
we
is.
needed to get the streets done, so I'm glad you
Yes.
assisted, yeah.
Just, we do have one more page, then I'll let Christina go over that real quick for the healthcare budget. Let's just cover that real quick.
Yes, so the healthcare budget is an internal service fund. I don't think we've ever actually covered it
Right.
previously, but I am willing to answer any questions related to this. As you can see, the employer contributions have increased 7%, and the employee is only up 6%, but that's based on the number of employees and their elections, so it's not a direct 7%. So we are actually splitting that 7 and 7.
And we are still with Blue Cross Blue Shield?
We are
is that
still with
correct?
Blue
That's what
Cross Blue
The
Shield.
board approved is what I remember,
Yes.
so, yeah,
Mhm.
So
good.
directors, will we know, and this is the guidance that I have giving our department heads, a lot of times when the employees hear they have a 7% increase on healthcare, the first thing they think, well, if we get a 3 or 4% raise, we're taking a loss. No, it's based on, I think, the overall cost, Christina?
So
do you
for
know?
a family, they will be charged an additional $4.82 on 24 of their 26 paychecks. So it's bi-monthly.
So it's somewhere around $120 a year. But I just want to, when you hear 7%, they, it's,
Absolutely.
that's just 7% on their cost.
Absolutely.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I just had a question, Christina, and I know we haven't talked about it much, and even when I was on the board the first time, I don't know if we talked about it a whole lot. 7%, is that kind of average? Is that low? Is that a little on the high
That's-
side?
So we have been increasing, we've been trying to increase lower than what we're being recommended. And so far, it's worked okay for us. We've still built up enough cash that, you know, if we blow our budget, we still have some money, if that makes sense. If you look at the financial statements, you'll see right now we're in the red. So, but we have reinsurance that hasn't kicked in yet. It takes them a while to pay us back. So really, the most we're out on any given claim is going to be like $150,000. And then they'll reimburse us everything over that. So, but our claims are very high. I think they said the average trend is, and maybe this is really more to your question, they said really it's closer to 8 to 10%.
Reed, did you have something? David?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Christina, I just wish we had more allocated to mental health services. $5,000 in the first time in years. It doesn't seem very much, and I have to tell you, it's still a dirty word around the world, mental health, and it shouldn't be. Mental health is our mind, and we should be taking care of our mind as much as our body. And so I cannot encourage you enough that in the future, we provide mental health services.
So that's actually just tracking. First of all, there's a certain amount of mental health that is required to be in our Blue Cross. And then we also do additional mental health for our public safety employees. And so really what that is that is tracking what we're paying out of pocket to individual providers here locally. And
So that's not indicative of what
that's not indicative
everything
of what's available.
Okay.
I guess that's just a tracking of our actual.
We've also applied for a mental health grant. Hopefully, we'll be getting some good news on that.
So all of our mental health claims that was
Would
not
be
out
a
of pocket
health
would be
claim.
part of healthcare claims. Okay, good.
Madam Mayor.
Yes?
I know they're applying for a grant, and, yeah, I think police and fire, that's really important, and I'm sure y'all already are, but the grant will run out, so thinking about how do we support that for the future and really get them what they need, so just something to keep in mind, so. Because even if insurance pays for it, deductibles and all of that, you've got to go through.
Well, there are a certain amount of visits that we're required by law to pay for out of pocket where the employee doesn't pay anything if it's related to public safety on the job.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay.
Good, thank you.
All right.
Mayor, I'll just be waiting for guidance if we need a special called meeting, and you just let me know.
Perfect. Sounds good.
I think we have a 5 PM workshop scheduled if we need it before the board meeting.
If we need it,
Yeah,
that
if
is
we need it.
correct.
I
So
think it's
we'll,
somewhere on the schedule, so.
based on input to the administrator, we'll go from there. So, all right.
Do we
Then
have a motion to
We
adjourn?
need to have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I thought I was making the motion.
Second. You're too
You
slow.
snooze, you lose.
Snooze, you lose, I know.
That's right, you got,
Snooze, you
all
lose.
those in favor say aye.
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 We are adjourned. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.